Estamos con el CEO de Simphony, una empresa que se dedica a la venta de aditivos para promover la oxo-biodegradación de los plásticos. Michael, tell me, what is happening right now with the additives that you are selling to the global market?
It's a very good question, because at the moment the world is in crisis. It's in crisis because financially it's very stretched, and the issue of plastic pollution is major. It's major because the press every day is saying it's bad, you should ban it. But the reality is, when you look at the evidence, you find that plastic is still the best of the best in terms of sustainability, in terms of cost effectiveness, in terms of recyclability, in relation to even reuse. So it's difficult to get rid of a product, to ban a product that is so good. And our technology, which we now refer to, because it's so confusing, as biodegradable, because that's what it really is. It biodegrades the plastic organically, recycling that back into the nature. And it's an undisrupted technology, as you know, because the extruder can make his ordinary plastic. He can put 1% of our D2W technology in, and he knows it's going to return to nature if it escapes the recycling process. So he also knows it's going to organically recycle. So when you look at the evidence, 4 decades of research, 4 decades of different ways to test, whether you test CO2 or you test carbon-13, whether you test it on land or you test it in the oceans. We communicate those facts to governments and to corporates around the world, and we say, you're concerned that you make the right decision. We, in our studies, in the work that we've done, in the investment that we made, we have actually proven that your material that you're buying at the moment is the best. And the only issue with it is what happens if it escapes in the environment. And now with this technology, you know it will recycle back into nature. It will organically recycle itself. You're putting carbon back. So it's possible to measure that carbon, which is very, very important.
Okay.
Delivering those facts to legislators around the world and corporates that are stuck, that can't enforce bans because you need packaging for food, you need it for crop growing, you need it for everyday life. By communicating that message and those facts, we're now getting more and more governments that are moving towards this technology and moving away from complete bans or pushing the thickness up or pushing for composting. Because when you look at composting, great, it composts, but where are the composts? It won't biodegrade in the open environment. So you deliver those simple messages, and we're getting more and more countries that are saying, we want this biodegradable option. And in the last 2 months, if you take as a case example India, the world's second most populated part of the world.
Yes.
They started 2 years ago with legislation that said, we ban it unless you make it 3 times thicker. But we'll allow you to carry on using the same thickness if you make it in compostable.
Okay.
But it never worked because you can't recycle compostable. Nobody really wants to pay 3 times more.
Yes, of course.
And the barrier properties of compostable was no good. Your food wouldn't stay fresh. It would go rotten faster. You had all that. So in the last 2 months, the law was modified and it said compostable or biodegradable. So even India has followed the Middle East, that were one of the first in the world to look at the facts and make a decision. And a decision that doesn't disrupt or cause financial distress, and a decision that doesn't have consequences that are catastrophic. So I'm hoping that in Mexico you have two bills going through the House, the circular economy bill and also the waste management bill. And we've been presenting the facts to your legislators, to your politicians, to your corporates. And it looks like they are understanding that it's important to recognize that you can have composting in your regulations, but reality is most people won't be able to find a compost because they don't really exist in the numbers that you need. And financially, the biodegradable, as well as being the most appropriate, is more affordable because there's virtually no major increase to costs. You can use the same equipment. So globally, we're seeing things move really, really quickly into using this type of technology.
Okay.
So we're optimistic.